In this video, I just wanted to quickly show you how I like to troll lures when fishing either from a kayak, and you can also do this from a boat, and trolling lures inshore out on the flats. This can be very effective to keep a lure in the water as you're fishing in front of you. So you can keep a lure behind you, and then you can actively fish with another rod in front of you. So when I position myself, what I like to do, as you can see right here, I have the wind coming at me from the east and it's blowing to the west. And what I like to do is make sure that I am trolling perpendicular to the wind. So I'm going down this way, the wind's coming at me this way. When I do cast the lure behind me and I have it trolling, that wind will almost act like an outrigger to keep that lure out to the side, because you don't really want your lure following you, because you're fishing pretty shallow. So wherever you're moving, you're going to spook fish, and if you do spook fish, they're most likely going to go out to the side. So your lure will be traveling out to the side because that wind's going to be blowing it out to the side and in a more ideal area to hook into a fish or come across a fish. So what I'll do is I'll just cast it out behind me. I'm using a Z-Man Minnow Z, actually the Diesel Minnow Z, the 4-inch, on a 1/12 ounce weighted hook. And depending on how fast you're trolling, that's going to determine what size weight you want to use. The faster you go, the heavier you want to go, and also depth is a factor. So this 1/12 ounce works pretty good, especially from the kayak, because you're not going too fast. And I'll let about 50 yards out or so, maybe more, and then I'll place it in a rod holder behind me here. I'll loosen the drag just a little bit because I'm going to be moving, so I don't want it too tight that it's going to pull the lure out of the fish's mouth when he grabs it. Just loose enough to give a little when that fish does strike. And this can be great for redfish, trout, and snook. And also another option for a lure is a gulp bait. These can work really well, especially while you're fishing out in front of you. You have one of these trolling behind you, and because of the smell and also the action, when you stop to fish an area, your lure will settle down on the bottom, release that scent, and then once you start moving again, your lure now pops up and gets the attention of those fish. So gulp baits can work really well also when moving from spot to spot, or if you're just actively fishing and moving along a shoreline or across a flat. Another thing too, when I'm fishing shallow and trolling in a shallow area, I like to make sure my lures are rigged weedless on a weedless hook, just because of the shallow depth. You're coming across structure, you don't want to get snagged on anything. Also, you don't want grass getting fouled up on your lure or your bait. So just make sure you have a weedless setup when trolling shallow. You can see that rod tip just slightly bouncing as it's pulling that paddle tail behind me. Nice good action, nice good thumping. And you can see the wind has my line out to the side a bit. It's not directly behind me. Also, the positioning of the rod holder is going to be important because you want it out to the side opposite of the wind. So if the wind is coming at me, obviously from that direction, I want it on this side of my kayak or my boat. That just keeps it further out to the side. If you have it on the side that the wind's hitting, your lure is probably going to be dragging right directly behind you. So again, have it out to the side on the opposite side the wind's hitting. That way your lure stays out to the side, almost like an outrigger. One last tip when I'm trolling, if I'm just actively trolling, not really fishing out in front of me, just trolling a lure behind me, what I'll do is I'll move forward at a steady pace for a bit, either pedals or paddle, whichever you have, or trolling motor if you're in your boat. And I'll just keep moving. And then every now and then I'll slow down, or I'll just come to a complete stop. And that almost gives your lure a little bit of action. Your lure will start moving and then it'll slow down and go a little deeper. So you're just constantly doing a forward, stop, slow down. Almost like you're trying to work that lure behind you without really having to do a lot of work. And also, you don't want to be moving too fast that your lure is way up on the surface, getting dragged behind you. Just not very effective. Nice and slow so that lure has a proper action. Now, there's no specific rods or reels or line or anything like that. I'm just using my standard inshore setups that I would be using if I was casting lures around. So you don't have to worry about that. Just set a rod in the rod holder, throw your lure behind you, and let it drag. The longer you can keep a bait in the water, the more likely you are to come across some fish. So here I stopped for a second to fish this little point and still had the lure behind me, and it got hit right there. Alright, so got a fish that finally hit the lure I was trolling. Little red. Just trolling that paddle tail behind the kayak. And you got it. So red. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Also, if you have any experience with trolling lures inshore, definitely let us know any advice or extra tips you may have. So until then, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.